This is the Good Bit Podcast, everybody. Welcome to another exciting edition. Thank you very much for tuning in and giving us your time this week. We really appreciate it. And I said it was going to be exciting. My word. What an exciting episode and an exciting film we're going to chat about today, ladies and gents. The absolute classic from 1997. Great year, by the way. Why was 1997 a good year? Because your brother was born. I'm not talking about your real brother. I'm talking about your podcast brother. That's me. I was born in 97, and we're here to chat about one of the biggest films from that year. It is, of course, Good Will Hunting, starring such stars such as Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, and the one and only Robin Williams. My word, what a great film, a classic film that we're going to chat about today. But before that, we have to introduce our guest this week, a long time pal who I've not spoke to in absolute ages. And I don't like the fact we've saved this catch up until we're recording. Well, we can't talk until we're set up the microphones. I don't like that. That was a very old school Good Bit style, but we're here anyway. My good close personal friend Jatinder is on the Good Bit finally. Jatinder, how are you, my friend? It's lovely to see you.
Yeah, man. Very well, buddy. Thank you so much. Thankfully, since the last I saw you, I think we were talking about parties, which was fun.
Probably, yeah.
But we probably won't remember because we probably had a pure drunken conversation going, I love you, man. And you know, I love you too, mate.
Do you remember Maddie Greaves' 21st? Because we were both there, and I think we were sitting in the couch, and I'm sure we had one of those like 4 a.m. conversations, and I'm sure you fell asleep on that couch like mid conversation.
Oh yeah, mate. God, yeah. I wasn't supposed to come because I was like, Maddie, sorry, I'm not coming. I don't know why. And then I was like, last minute, well, I've got the car. Screw it. And I drove all the way up.
I know you've got the car because did you not drive me home the next day?
I almost killed us the next day, didn't we?
That's right. I didn't want to bring up in case you'd forgotten.
Was it you, Maggie,
Mason?
Who else? Someone else is in the car.
Mason was in the car.
Mason. Oh yeah, because I was like, Mason, you live in the same area as me. Just come back. Remember, it was that slip road and it was pure rainy. Probably shouldn't have been driving that day, to be quite honest.
I didn't want to bring it up in case you were like, oh, it's going to ruin my reputation.
Oh my God. That was terrifying. I love how, like, no one screamed at anything, but we just had a sudden bit of shock and all colour. Like, just went away from us and just went, we almost died.
I think, honestly, like, the closest I've ever come to actual death.
Because the whole car just, like, on the slip road just went, we all just went,
proper spinning. Oh my God.
Oh God.
That's right. I think that may have been the last time I saw you. That may have been a good 4 years ago. I mean, to be fair, there was a pandemic in the middle of all that. You know what I mean? It's not as if we've done it on purpose that we've not seen each other, but yeah.
What a party that was as well. What a lovely time.
Yeah, we had people singing songs. There was all sorts of folk from the industry there. My mate Craig came in dressed as Spider-Man at one point. Like, it was definitely one of those. It was one of those nights.
Yeah. That was a blast from the past. Yeah. Yeah, I do remember chatting to you and then just falling asleep and then waking up the next one going, where am I?
And genuinely, I was like, this was about 4 years ago. I was like, you should come on the podcast. We'll try and get a date. No, I don't know. I don't know if that's what it was.
Time flies, man.
I know. But listen, last time I actually saw you, you didn't see me, but I saw you in a non-creepy way. I was sitting in the audience at the Tron Theatre. I saw you on that stage, killing it. Brand new, well, it wasn't actually a brand new play. It was the second run of the play, I believe, at the Tron in Glasgow, called Moorcroft by Ailey Lone, who I sent a message to after the show and thanking her for the great performance or great production that she put on. And I'm sure I've met her. We mentioned this before we started recording. It's weird, like, speaking to people that you kind of know, and you feel you know them enough to have a conversation, but you don't really know where from. You don't know how well you know the person and stuff. You're kind of stuck. I've met Ailey before. I don't know for the life of me where you were talking about, like, you were in Sugo and you met one of the waiters or something.
Yeah, man, my guy. So sorry. Like, I just wish it was. I don't know if it's because he's very energetic, but we've met. I'm assuming we've met, and not just met, that we had a full-on conversation, and it seemed to be a massive bonding experience because the guy was pure, like, warm and welcoming and open, and like we were best pals. And I was like, I don't know who you are. No. So I remember sitting beside Sean. Sean was like, who is that? And I was like, I don't know. And I don't really know that thing. I had to do that thing where I was asking Ailey. It was like, Ailey, if he comes to us, can you introduce yourself? so he can introduce himself.
Yeah,
So I know his name because I was like, well, as soon as I get a name, I'd know. I'll click.
of course.
The guy said his name, and I was like, nothing, nothing, nothing at all. I was like, what's going? And then he followed me recently on Insta. I was like, all right, so he knows me. We have mutuals.
Right.
I was going for all our mutuals. It's still nothing.
Am I one of the mutuals?
Let's find out.
Tell me his name.
I don't want to. I'm scared.
No, I mean, I'll cut it.
All right, his name's Silas.
No, don't
Right?
know it. Don't know a Silas.
I was like to Ailey, how the fuck am I going to meet a Silas? I'm from Bailliston. I mean,
What Silas do you know is from Gareth Hill?
exactly, man. We got a help. We have no Silases here, man. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll leave that in. I don't want to cut that. That's funny.
Yeah, if you want. You just
Just beat
it's
the
like,
name.
what?
Small. Anyway, back to this regular scheduled conversation.
Oh, yeah. The two worst people to get on a podcast and just
let's
chat.
just try to catch up. You know what I mean? Right. Okay. So I was trying to make a nice segue there into Moorcroft, and we got off in this horrible segue. But yes, so I saw you perform. I absolutely loved the show. It was a show about this young group of guys forming a football team and dealing with lots of kind of hardships and prejudices that happen in life, you know. And I was saying this to you as well. Like, I'm quite harsh when it comes to Scottish comedy, I guess, more than just Scottish theatre in general. I think like loads of stuff has been done, and a lot of stuff like copies with the last thing done. And sometimes I'm like, this isn't funny. You're just using this as
Yeah,
an excuse to try and get a laugh. You're playing for the laugh or whatever. Sometimes I don't like
yeah.
it, but a proper belly laughed at this one. I totally loved it. I think I really related to it. There was one moment where I don't want to spoil anything, but there was one moment where a character rubbed some, I don't know what's the correct term, human waste on his face. And the guy's reaction just had me in absolute bits. It was hilarious. Tell the lovely folks about Moorcroft. How's the experience been working there? And when can the listeners come see the show if they're in the neighbourhood?
Yeah. So Moorcroft, man, it's a for me a very, I think, a beautiful part of my career, and I'm very fortunate to be a part of it, and just to have the opportunity to be included in something that I think for Scottish theatre, and not just Scottish theatre, I genuinely believe now in theatre in general to be part of something quite unique and special and progressive. I want to say, I met Ailey back in 2017. No, that's a lie. 2019 when I did Peter again in London. Um, Ailey was friends with Ryan Hunter, who was the original Tubbs in the show.
Hmm.
Um, they all went to Knightswood together. If you remember, do you remember Becca J?
Yeah.
Yeah, they all went to this performing arts high school called Knightswood, and that's where they all met. And then some of them moved to London. Ailey moved to London to study at Guildford School of Acting. And June Peter again in the National, everyone would just come popping by. And I remember speaking with Ailey, and I remember her talking about, we were in the balcony, I believe it was Pride. I remember she was talking about this play she's writing development. She's been writing it for 7 years at that point. It'll be 9 years now. It was about her dad's story, dad Gary Owen, who's also a legend. And I remember just hearing about it. I was like, oh, cool, that seems interesting. Piqued my interest because I like, oh yeah, I'm interested in going down that venture as well at some point. But so far, I'm just acting away. And like, even at that point, I haven't met someone who's also in the start of the career, just been so on it and already
Right.
knowing where their trajectory is going to be and manifesting. I suppose I hate but also love saying the word manifesting, because when people say manifesting, you always like imagine like pure universal and spiritual stuff.
Spiritual. Yeah. Yeah.
But I view it as a person's determination and work ethic. And Ailey's in her own self has manifested this drive to be like, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to move on to that, I'm going to send these emails, and like, and creating opportunities for herself.
That's it, man.
I haven't met anyone like that, and I was like, wow, you're incredible. Like I'm inspired. And then obviously 4 years, pandemic happens. I was doing a online play thing for the Tron. But at the same time, Ailey was developing Moorcroft in the same building. I was like, interesting. And pals in it, like Martin Quinn was in it, and Francesco Smith was doing it. A few other people as well. Marty Docherty, who's actually in the show, as Gary, was doing development as well. I didn't know Marty properly at that point, but I saw him in plays. And like watching her come out, pure beaming, like, oh, and I was like, I wonder where this is leading. I found out later that Ailey actually wanted me to be in that development as well, but I was busy doing that other show. Hence why she asked me to come in to read from Merck.
Yeah.
Eventually got the audition through. I got COVID, so I couldn't do it. And I was like, don't forget about me, please. And Ailey was very much like, don't worry, we're gonna get you in, at some point. I was like, great. And eventually COVID finished, got in, did it. I even remember reading this play and be like, yeah, this is good.
So good, so well written as well, man.
Incredibly well written. Moorcroft is Ailey's dad's story. It is Gary's experiences of a young 90-year-old man living for the 80s in this Thatcher political storm that like what demoralizes and demotivates people into thinking that we're not really allowed to achieve more than a standard of where we are in this country through this classist system we are born into. And like, but then this individual is like, no, I'm going to do something out of the box, and I want to start something as simple as a football team. To us right now, we think that is simple. People go for fives every weekend here and there. But back then, the mentality was like, well, we're all poor. We don't have time. We need to grow up quickly, and we need to start working and making sure we're not homeless or this and that and so forth. And what Gary and these guys did was create a community, which is so important to, I think, Scottish culture in general.
Absolutely.
We're especially in Glasgow, we're a community-based people. We always need people. This is why people come to Glasgow. Everyone's so friendly. We know this from experience growing up in these areas and being around people. It's not essentially because they're rough. It's territorial. It's protective.
Yeah.
I view it as protective anyway. Like, obviously, if a random person's going to walk in, I know to an area that you don't necessarily, especially with the environment we've been brought up with let's say, like, you know, sectarianism within our
football
city.
Teams, yeah,
And
definitely.
and all the different aspects of people. Like, if someone random's going to come in, people are going to be like, is this guy going to come in and be a threat, or is he going to, do you know?
Yeah.
And then obviously you have pockets within those group of people who are just mental. Like,
that's
we know
that's also
that
any
happens
city.
everywhere.
Exactly. Any city, yeah.
Any city. So that's what I think this show encapsulates is
absolutely
the protectiveness, and not in an aggressive way, but in actually in an endearing way of like these people coming together and be like, let's do something from this. You know, a line from the show is like, this time's a shithole, but it's our shithole.
Yeah.
And then these boys encapsulate that incredibly well. And I think what's so beautiful about this play is that it really gives allowance for men to come and see the show from that era and just be like, it's okay to cry.
Aye, and also this plays for you. You know what I mean?
And like, because I've got the same gripe as you with some Scottish theatre, like, a lot of new writing happens, of course, and a lot of new plays are in development that sound exciting and fun. But it's not gonna like intrigue any of a general audience from Glasgow, from these areas.
Yeah, you need to know your market, yeah.
You do. And when I read this, I was like, this is a full-on Glasgow working class play. And it should be treated as serious as a Shakespeare should be, you know, when it comes to our industry and the people who are running it. And I'm so happy that Andy just took that chance on Ailey. Because he didn't have to. But Andy's got this history of absolutely being like this underdog guy, this outsider guy, and be like, I'm going to do this. Like, look what he did with Archie, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then coming in and curating what he's done with the Tron, do you know?
And the Tron in itself, like, for those who don't know, in Glasgow, is a real kind of community-based theatre as well. Really, like, loads of like workshops and development things, and like, as you say, a lot of the shows are new writing or one-time shows, and you know, and that's kind of a really attractive place for actors to go, which is what you want. You want to drive people, you know, to be in that theatre and to work in that theatre. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I think it happened to me twice this year. You know the way you hear something about a play and you go like, "Oh my god, it was amazing! You need to go see it," and immediately your back's up. You're like, "Really, right? Okay, like
Yeah.
you love this," and I'm like, "Well, you know what I mean? We'll see." It happened twice this year for me. One was Moorcroft, the other one was Scott's. I don't know if you saw Scott's
How good?
Noisemaker, mate. It was amazing, and I
How
just
good?
couldn't believe it.
Absolutely loved it. I know I did a show with Sebastian, who's in that show. I did
Yeah,
Cinderella with him, so I was like, all right, I'm going to have to go and see it because I know Sebastian, I know
yeah.
Yana. Better go see it. And I sat down and I went, wow, like
Yeah,
who would have thought like a show about a Scottish toilet,
a toilet.
a
Absolutely. Had
toilet,
Tyler Collins, who played the toilet, has been on the podcast before, and he spoke about it and stuff.
incredible.
If I had to recommend two shows for anybody listening to go see the rest of the year, we've
Yeah.
got Scots at the Fringe. They're doing like a later half of the Fringe run. Definitely check that out. And then Moorcroft. Where can the folk come see it?
So we're finishing this Saturday, unfortunately. So by the time this podcast is up,
Yeah.
we'll be done for now. But we are returning for a tour of the National Theatre of Scotland, and I believe it is from. Let's find the dates.
Yes, let's get the dates on.
Let's get the dates. I put it in my story actually the other day. Starting on the 7th of October to the 4th of November, and we'll be touring places such as Aberdeen, Stirling, Cumbernauld, Greenock, Kilmarnock, Musselburgh, Dundee, Edinburgh, Kirkcaldy, and other cities. Check the
May,
NTS website.
maybe Perth, but if you go to Perth, don't have Jatinder drive you home.
Don't have me.
Right, okay. Also, I'll definitely like spread the word on that and might even bring some pals to come see it again later in the year because it was class. What about you then? So when did you decide that, you know, sometimes I don't like using the word actor because I feel like as performers we kind of do so much, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we write stuff, we do workshops, development, improv, all that stuff. When did you want to be a performer? When did you get that bug to be on stage or on screen?
Dude, I used to use a pure wanky term about, mate, I'm a practitioner. Like,
Right.
and I was like, what am I doing? Fucking Stanislavski over here,
I
man.
know. It's like you have to write an essay at the end of your college about practitioners. I would like to read about myself.
Yeah. I was like, who do I come? But yeah, I agree with you as well. I feel like, especially now, because people love to limit, do you know what I mean? Or like categorize. I was like, no, we're creatives. Like, that's it. And my
Creatives.
main creative
Yeah.
hub is the acting outlet, but I've got other avenues that I want to explore. But for example, like I also do filmmaking as well on the
Yeah.
side with my company 939 Cinema, and like yeah. But for me, I find it one. It was a shock for a lot of people because I played a lot of rugby growing up, and people would have just assumed that he's going to go down to a sports or like a normal 9 to 5 or whatever and stuff because it was my life. It was a big life. It was a way for me when I moved from the south side in Govan Hill to the East End to make friends. Was that we all played rugby, which is so bizarre because when I tell people I'm for Bailson, I play rugby, they're like, "What? Like that's
Now
not
the Bailison is the capital of the world for rugby.
I know exactly. Like what? Because obviously, that's a pure classist sport and all that's got its issues and
Yeah.
stuff as well. But that was a way for me, and like I did the pathways and stuff and all that. Like any young lad who got into sports, they'd be like, I want to be a footballer, I want to make millions. So it was, but in school I was really good generally at stuff. In my standard grades, you see me, I go, what the fuck? You used to be so smart. But then just I guess as well, like I tried to be a bit of a clown in school. My teachers can be a testament to that. I feel so bad to this day, especially the English department. What a annoyance I was. Um, so like drama was just like a way to get rid of that excess energy that I had.
Yeah.
And then I just remember like I did little shops of horror, and I was like, this is fun. It's a musical. I'm in the chorus, this and that. But Mr. Gemmell, Tom Gemmell, was doing Shakespeare. I was doing Julius Caesar, and I was like, I'll just audition for that and see how that goes. And you know what the boys are like? The boys are like, yeah, all right, okay, you Shakespeare.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna do it, and I did it, and I didn't think of it. I auditioned for Mark Anthony, and then Tom was like, oh, I'm gonna cast you as Caesar, and I was like, what? That's weird.
Yeah.
And I remember just going through the process of it, and like it was a really difficult rehearsal period, mainly because like it was something I've never done before. It was Shakespeare. I'm like a wee 14-year-old guy. What am I going to know about the language?
Yeah, very difficult.
And also the rugby was priority,
Mhm.
and rugby clashed with rehearsals. So I was like from the start, sorry, sir, we've got tournaments coming up. I want to run shields and this and that. And he was like, I get it. So some days I wasn't available. He says I could just use other people, but it made it very difficult for him. And also the Shakespeare aspect really annoying. And like, thank goodness for Mr. Swan, um, who was my English teacher at the time, and we were reading Macbeth, and he was like, Jatinder, I'm going to train you. I'm going to train you to get used to the language. So every single time
Wow.
you're in my class, you're going to be reading Macbeth. And I was like, oh, sir, why are you making me? I saw he's like, no, 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 don't care, no back chat. You're reading Macbeth every single time you're reading Macbeth. I was
Wow.
like, okay. And I did it. I remember the first read and I was like, what's going on, man? What is he saying? What is going on? Um, and then so doing Macbeth in Mr. Swan's class and then going straight into Julius Caesar. I was developing the linguistics for it. I was picking it
Mhm.
up quite quickly. I think that's a good trait of mine. I can pick things up quite quickly. Um, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm slightly getting it now. And then obviously they went a little bit more into it with pentameter, but we also had to do it in an American accent because Caesar was based in the way he's based it was like all the president's men, that type of
Right.
scenario and all that. But for me, the biggest thing was I had rugby training on Wednesday. We had rehearsals on Wednesday, and the show was coming close. And I was like, sorry, sir, I can't come. And Tom was like, fine, cool, whatever. Obviously, knew he was a bit upset. This is a pure high school musical moment, man. It's quite funny when I tell people this because it's mad. But I'm in my rugby kit. I'm walking out. I'm walking with my mate Cameron Kane, and like the door to the pitches are here, and the theatre doors are here, and I'm pure walking
You had to
here.
decide.
Yeah, and I'm pure like, and I've seen everyone in rehearsing away, pure like having a laugh, and like I'm about to go out and play rugby, and I'm pure looking, and I'm like, and I was like, oh, Kane, mate, and he's like, what? I was like, I don't want to let them down. Can you just tell Dugan I'm not coming?
Oh,
And Dugan's my coach, obviously, John Dugan, and he was like, are you sure, bud? And I went, I've got to rehearse, mate. I've got to rehearse, and I ran in, grabbed my script from locker room, and I ran in with my rugby gear on, and Gemma was like, "What are you doing here? You got training?" And I went, "Ah, so I've got to rehearse with you guys. You just got to do it." And he was like, "Brilliant, brilliant." He was so buzzing. He was like, "Brilliant." I'm doing it, and I think at that moment I was like, "Oh God, this is a thing like I care about."
yeah.
And I did, and then eventually, God, I was so nervous, mate, when they were opening for the show because like it's the first time to ever remember things, and I was like, "Can I actually remember this?"
Oh,
And
mate,
I'm like,
it's so stressful.
"Right,
See, the first time I had to learn lines after the pandemic, I
yeah."
was sitting going, how did like I've done 2.5 hour plays before. How did I remember this?
It's such a muscle, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is what I tell people. Is like, it is a muscle that you got to constantly exercise. But I remember the first time the show's about to open. I'm not on stage yet, but I'm like, do I know my lines? Like, I'm like, do I know them? And I just remember standing there and just going
Going through
in my
them.
head, and I was like, felt calm, and I go,
Yeah.
oh, I know what I'm doing. I think I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. And I walk on stage, do my opening line, listen to that, being this guy, and it felt great. I just like what is going on? I could hear people from the audience reacting to me and seeing people, and I was just went, wow. And I never felt that way before. Because all my life I was kind of at that point. Everyone had all these expectations on me. I used to go to India a lot, and I used to read my palms, tell my mom and dad he's going to be a doctor, he's going to be an engineer, he's going to be this, and he's going
Right.
to be that. Mom and dad's going to be like, oh, he's going to be this when he loves building things. He loves building things with his Legos and all that. And I was like, all right, cool. And I was like, I'll figure it out in high school. But at that point, I was like, I remember doing the shows. And then the last show's finished. I'm speaking to my pastoral care teacher, Miss Shah, who's South Asian as well, who was a really big help for me in school because I was the only one of the only South Asian kids in the school. So having her, I called them Auntie, I called her Auntie Shah instead of Miss Shah. Um, and then Miss Shah, my mum and dad were like standing there going, amazing. And I just remember just going, blurting out, like, I want to be an actor. And I'm going, what? Like, oh, we don't do that, son. And I'm like, no, I really want to do this. And from that moment onwards, when I jump on something, I jump on something. So everything else is when,
Right.
and I was like, acting was the up. You know, I still kept up with my rugby because I was my outlet for like
Yeah,
frustration and like
of
stuff
course.
with my friends and that. But with grades and stuff, I kind of just got bored because I was really good at history in school as well, to the point that it was very frustrating for my history teacher, Miss Fitzpatrick and Miss Hanning and all that, knowing that I didn't study for stuff because they're like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Sorry." It's like, "Please stop being lazy with it because you're one of our best students." And I was like, "All right, sorry." He's like, "I remember I got a one in my prelim. No, I got two in my prelim." And Miss Fitzpatrick was very much like, "I'm not worried about you because I know you're gonna get a one from what
Yeah.
you're the most intensive." And I got back and it was a three, and she was like, "What happened?" I was like, "I don't know. I just
Well,
got
I
coffee.
did.
I think."
I did a play.
I did a play. I'm gonna be an actor. And she was like, "You're so lucky. We could fight for you to get two because
Yeah.
you're not doing intermediate. You're going straight to higher. If you're going to higher, you're going to get a good grade. I swear." And I was like, sorry,
You
all
will
right,
get a good grade. All right.
all right. I was like, cool. And then, like, I eventually did. I got a B in history. I could have got an A, but just the
Brilliant.
studying,
Oh,
you know. But you know what I mean? I was like that, you know, at that point, because
it
you
just
know,
took over.
wanted to be an actor, and that was that. I was like, all I need. I was looking. Obviously, you look up what I need: English and drama,
Right.
advanced higher. If you got it, I was like, grand, great. That's all
Yeah,
I need.
that's what I'm going for. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mate,
Um.
honestly, it's such a good story. A total high school musical moment. You go in your rugby gear. I love
Yeah,
it.
it was literally it was in my rugby gear. I was just looking back on it, going, "You are like, no wonder you're an actor. You're so dramatic already, aren't you?" You're such
I would like to play a rugby player. Write me a role.
write me a role. Go on, Gemmel.
That's brilliant, man. And then obviously
Yeah,
we met at drama college. I
yeah,
don't think we did a play together, did we? I don't think we did. We were always in opposite ones. I did a few plays of like as an extra role in your kind of classes
yeah.
productions,
I
but never
actually
one you were
listened
in.
to your and Josh's
Oh
podcast.
yeah,
Did you did one with him, didn't you? Right?
did one with
Am I right?
Josh. Did
Yeah.
one with like Maddie and that
Mm-hmm.
crew. But I don't think we ever shared the stage together, which is
Nah,
crazy.
I don't remember any of the plays with any of the younger students coming. I call them younger,
Younger,
but with the students year below us. No, I don't
yeah,
think so. I actually tried to remember what I did, because I kind of just like forgotten everything.
yeah,
This is what I do as well, man. Like not necessarily with people, but probably with experiences and that.
yeah.
But like with college, after I left college, I was like a lot of my a
You
lot of
just
like
check out, yeah.
yeah, yeah, and then I go, oh yeah, I did that. Oh yeah, I did that play. Oh, of course I did that play.
Yeah,
Oh, we did that class, you know, and like, oh yeah, yeah. So it's interesting. It's interesting, but I was trying to have a really hard look to be like, what did I actually study? It
no,
so hard.
I know. It's pretty tough, isn't
Um,
it?
because it was a lot. We did a lot. Um, but I think in first year it was Lord of the Flies. I remember
Yeah.
that. I played Piggy in that, which is hilarious. Um, what a great role though. I was remember walking into it going, I want to play Piggy. I want to be Jack, and I want to be. Uh, but I remember like what a really heart and soul of that play because he was the one to be like why everyone descent into madness. He was like, I'm the most logical person here. Guys, if we don't stop this, we're gonna end up killing each other. Everyone ends up killing each other,
Yeah.
you know.
Spoiler for
Uh,
Lord of the Flies.
oh yeah, oh yeah, man, that old chestnut. Yeah.
1946 or something that came out.
Yeah. And then my final show I did Medea at Webster's.
Right.
Medea was good. It was
Heavy,
interesting.
heavy show, right?
Very heavy. That was also something to play. So I thought, man, college really spread me, man. It was like from my first role to play a child to then something more age appropriate and to like now this really old king man with authority was interesting journey. And that was an interesting journey for me in Medea because at that time as well, I was auditioning for the sets uh internship,
Mhm.
which wasn't necessarily open to people from colleges at that time, I believe, anyway, as far as I knew. Um, because I worked at the sets front of house, and I worked there for a few years throughout my college, just to be like so I could watch shows for free, but also just be around the environment and speak
Absolutely.
to people. You know, it was great. One of the best jobs I've ever had, to be honest. And I remember one of the guys being like, "Oh yeah, Dominic's holding the auditions right now for the internship." I was like, "Is he?" Yeah, he's for graduates and all that. And I was just sitting there. I was like, "I need to get on this somehow," and I don't know how. I
Yeah.
don't really have one-on-one with him. I never really had one-on-one with him. We seen him float by, obviously saw him and such. And I remember my mate Harvey at the time, whose mum was the front of house manager, pals with him. I remember just running because he was filming. He's a filmmaker as well. I remember just running, finding him, pure knocking on the door. It's like, "Are you guys filming right now?" He was like, "Yeah, yeah." I was like, "Harvey, I need you to do me a big favor, mate." And he was like, "Yeah, what's up, dude?" I was like, "Can you call your mum and get her to call Dominic and ask her if I can be seen for the internship?" And he was like, "Yeah, all right, cool, whatever." And Harvey calls his mum Leslie, and Leslie calls Dominic. And Dominic was like, "Yeah, why not? Is he graduating?" He was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's goes to this call." I was like, "Cool." And I remember what did he say? He's like, "Yeah, okay, is he available like 5:30 on a Friday?" I was like, I am, absolutely,
Anything you
absolutely.
need.
And I came in, I did my audition. I tried to do the dolphin from King John. Really struggled with that piece, and I don't know why. I think I knew why now. I had too many people telling me to do it different ways instead of doing it the way I would do it. And then he was like, "Do you have anything else?" And this is the thing about college where I actually really do appreciate now, where they forced us to like, you need to know 12 monologues, you need to know six contemporary and six classical. So I already knew that
Yeah.
many. He's like, "What other Shakespeare stuff do you have?" Just in the Dominic's a really big fan of Shakespeare as well. And I was like, I've got Othello, I've got Much Ado, I've got Romeo and Juliet. Is it which one from Romeo and Juliet? I was like, the balcony scene. He was like, "Do that," and we did that, and it was so much better than the Dolphin one because that's the one I know the most, the
Yeah.
best, really. Uh, and he was like, "Good, really good." And then he sat me down, and they were auditioning for Cinderella that year as well, part of the internship, and read it. He really liked. I'm assuming he really liked it anyway,
Yeah.
because afterwards he asked me down to come to London and audition for Faithful Ruslan, which was going to be a show in Nottingham, Coventry or Nottingham, who knows? But then eventually we transferred to the sets. But that was in the day of Medea's Tech.
Oh man.
And I remember speaking to Gregor, and I was like, "Dominic Hill wants to see me for this play, for the internship, to meet the director of that down
Oh,
there, and it's on the day of Tech." And I remember Gregor just looking at me like, pure like, he was like, "Go, just go." I was like, "Are you sure?" And he went, "Jay, what's the whole point of you being here if we can't let you go down and grab these opportunities?"
exactly.
And I was like, "Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you." So I flew down, did it. I'm pretty sure afterwards I met Dominic like three, four more times. He came to see me there as well, which was great. I was like, "Wow." He was apologising. He's just sorry, there's a lot of complications, don't know what's happening, this and that. And then the last day of college, do you remember that pub we all used to go to on the last day of college? Was it called Jack Daniels Bar
Yeah,
or something like that?
Weatherspoons, Jack Daniels. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Pull on my phone, get an email, and it's Dominic being like, "Hi, Stan, I just want to say thank you so much for coming and auditioning. Um, you unfortunately you didn't get Faithful Ruslan. They chose to go a different direction, and unfortunately didn't get the internship. However, I would like to cast you in Cinderella for the Stitch Christmas show if you're keen for it." And I was like, "Absolutely." So
Yeah.
like the day I graduated, I was getting a job in professional theatre, and I
Yeah.
was
Brilliant.
buzzing. And that time as well, I was about to move on to Mark Thompson's Snowflake, The Fringe, to do my first Fringe show as well.
It was all
And
happening.
I was like, "What's going on?" Like, I just got my agent as well, but
Yeah.
just got cooler at the time. And I just remember going like such a well. I remember like mad about calling my mum, like, "I've got jobs, I'm doing it." Like really, like I don't know, like heart beating stuff. Like,
Absolutely, man.
is this it? Like, and doing Snowflake as well. Like to this day, has been one of the best experiences I've ever had as an actor. Because that summer was such a learning curve for me
Mm.
to be in time to put on a show in 2 weeks, to then perform in the Pleasance in front of like people professionally,
Yeah.
and to work with Mark Thompson, who if people don't know, he was the ex-artistic director of the Royal Lyceum
Hmm.
in Edinburgh, and he was incredible. What a warm guy. Faye Hart Hill, brilliant, brilliant human being. Really, really made sure we were taken care of and wanted to check in on us as well. And like at that time as well, I remember getting squad during that time.
That's right. I saw you on the episode and actually sent a Snapchat to everybody being like, look,
Yeah,
it's Jay and
it's
Scott.
him, it's Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're great, man. But the first time I did it, because I did it twice, which was weird because they never asked people to come
They
back.
never do that, do they? They
Nah,
never.
my first time I played a guy called Reed Maxwell, but it clashed with one of the days of Snowflake, and we only had 2 weeks to put on this show. And I was like to Mark, like, my agent just sent this through. It's a day's work. Um, it's okay to get time off, and same thing as the rugby again. He
Yeah.
uh, he was like, yeah, just go. It's fine. We'll try and deal with something. Obviously, a bit stressed. Went in, did it, and they're very quick, man. They are very quick. So I had to go back to Glasgow because I was living in Edinburgh at the time. I had to go back to Glasgow. Um, they picked me up, got dropped off a set, a Euro Central. Um, was there for like 2 hours. Went in, seen 20 minutes, was out. Went back to Glasgow, and like Mark gave me the day off, but I was like, well, it's only 12 o'clock now.
Yeah.
And I was like to my dad, I was like, Dad, do you mind driving me to Edinburgh? Because he was doing nothing that day. He was like, yeah, screw it. Drove me to Edinburgh, drove me straight to rehearsals, walked in. Mark's like, what are you doing here? I went, well, I finished filming, so I'm here to work.
Coming straight there, yeah.
Yeah, and he appreciate that so much. I mean, we got stuff done, and that's the learning curve for me to be like this push pull in this industry, in this business. It's like the more you give in as much as you can, not too much because you don't want to burn yourself out. You don't want to put yourself under pressure, but as much as you want, you can. The more you receive, and people will appreciate that a
Well,
lot.
listen, that's what it is. It's like creating that kind of like that equity for yourself. Do you know what I
Yeah, of
mean?
course.
Like
Yeah.
showing that you're reliable, you're hardworking and stuff. That
Hmm.
goes a long way. Making that extra
Yeah.
effort. There's plenty of people that I spoke to that would do like long college days and then maybe have rehearsals after college or whatever, and they
Yeah.
would totally moan about it and be like, "Oh no, I just want to go home and stuff." I know it's probably a long day, but it's like you build up that equity for yourself. So that's really
Yeah.
important, and it's really good you did that.
Yeah, and I agree. And I could probably say that to any like actor. I think
Yeah,
like very much on the emphasis though of like don't push yourself because you feel like you have to. Do it if you want to. Absolutely. There's been processions where I was like doing a short film. I like waking up 3 in the morning and finishing at 8 in the morning and then
yeah,
going to a rehearsal in college and I was like bust.
yeah.
But I still did it because I thought that's what I had to do. But if I was an adult, a professional now, I'd just say, don't do it, mate. That's stupid. You're going to burn yourself out.
Don't burn yourself out.
You're
Don't
not
make
going
you
to look after your
unwell.
health. Yeah,
Yeah,
look after your own health first. But in instances such as that, if the opportunity is there, take it and do it because people will appreciate that. And it's all about that give, take. You give as much as you take. And when people see that, they appreciate that about you and
yeah.
it's just nice as well. I think that's the most
Yeah,
important thing. It's nice because
perception is
yeah,
reality. Like, do you let them know that you will do that and you're going to be
yeah,
good and you're going to be on
yeah,
time and you're going to be hardworking? And then,
hmm
if that's what it looks like, then they'll get you back in.
yeah, of course, because it's going to happen. Conflicts are going to happen all the
Yeah,
time when you're working in this industry, and like the best way to deal with it is the management aspect. Let's just make sure you have a good management when it comes to it, because that's what that for me really taught me that early on. Um, because you realize now as an actor, as not just an actor, in a logical sense, in a real world perspective, you're self-employed.
yeah,
You're a self-employed person. You need to maximize the amount of work, especially in creative fields, as much as you can. And like, if there's a day that you can get off of a day filming and go back to rehearsals, and absolutely do it and manage it. And like, but make sure after that day is done, you go home and you do nothing. You watch TV,
make it
make some
work.
food,
Yeah,
pour yourself a wine or something like that, and relax.
and chill. Yeah.
And chill. Um,
Well, speaking about relaxing and chilling and doing one of those things, one of the things that I love to do the most in terms of all that stuff, and maybe I don't know if you're the same. I don't know if you're a big film guy, but
yeah,
it's try and catch up with all these like films that come out, TV shows. There's just
yeah,
so much media now to consume. It's
mhm,
unbelievable.
yeah,
Um, and we're going to chat about Good Will Hunting for a little bit, but
yeah.
just before we get into that, tell me about like Do you have any early memories of going to the cinema, or like, do you remember the first time you ever went to cinema? Even if you just like remember the
Yeah,
first time you saw a movie and you were like, "What on earth is this?"
yeah. I was trying to have a think about that because, like, obviously, your memory of that age is kind of like all over
Right.
the joint. I don't remember watching the film, but my aunties and uncle remember me watching it, and I think there was like a re-release of Jurassic Park.
All
So
right.
when did that come out? That came out in what,
93.
93? It was a release in 2000s because it wasn't the second one. Because I would have remembered that, but I
Yeah.
remember there was a release. I was born in 96, so it must have been like late. It was like must have been a kid, but they wanted to go and watch it in cinemas. So they brought me and my sister, who was a little bit older than me, and it was the Forge Cinema, Cineworld in the Forge.
Yeah.
Uh, that was our local we used to go to a lot. I was terrified,
Well,
terrified.
Jurassic
Screamed.
Jurassic Park 3 came out in 2001.
I was in one. It could be that as
Could have been
well.
that, yeah.
Just terrified me. Literally grabbed all the jackets, put them over me. He was going, ah! It was the Velociraptors. I
Yeah.
was going, ah, ah, ah. They said it was the worst cinema experience they've ever had. I was like, all right, I don't remember this. But okay. Because my next memories would have been with my mum and my auntie. Right. So my mum and my auntie we used to take me and my sister to the cinema all the time. All the time. And it's a great way because my aunt Bindi is a big film fan. She loves cinema. And they used to take us. I mean, I watched all the Harry Potters in cinema because that's what we did.
Grew up at that time,
And
yeah.
yeah, and Scooby Doo, first Scooby Doo. I remember watching that
Yes.
around through, oh, around through Street, Cineworld. I remember watching that and going, "What's that?" Like it's so cute, and it like is that interesting because like I won't say I'm a '90s kid, but I grew up with my sister who was.
Yeah.
And I was obviously born 96. I had 4 years of it, right? But I was still very much like growing up in that era with that music and with the
Absolutely.
style of my sister, my aunties, and all that. Like my auntie's wall was full of like Leonardo DiCaprio and like Will Smith from Wild Wild West. I was up there for some reason as well, and like all these people on her time, like Brother Phoenix and that. And I was just like pure intrigued with that era. Um, and then like obviously Shrek and stuff and all that as well. But I remember watching Scooby Doo and be like, this is cool. And then now realizing like that was James Gunn, I was like, no wonder I liked it so much. Like, his films are quirky and weird and out there, and his
Yeah.
interpretations when it comes into like people is incredible. Like I love how the Guardians trilogy deals with the themes of like family in the sense the first one's about the mother, second's about the father, third one's about the self. From those
Yeah.
experiences, I love that. Because what interests me the most, I guess, growing up, my background and my family experience and my just stories I love to see is like father son stories. Like love my dad, great man. We clash a lot, and my uncles always clash with their dad. Like for some
Yeah.
reason, my family we always seem to have a clash. The men always seem to clash. So I was really intrigued with the stories like that, and I always seem to gravitate towards that. To be like, what is the core issue about that? Why is that? Why does that happen? Is it like is a societal thing about a man being surpassed by the child, or is it the expectations of the son to have on the father? About to be better. Like I don't know if you play video games, but have you been? Do you play God of War?
No, I'm not great at games. I just I don't
Mm.
actually play them that often. But I know of God of War. I know what you're
God of
talking about.
War, the when they basically remade it for the new generation,
Now, the first one came out in like mid 2000s, didn't it? And was it not like
long time
pure
ago.
solid? Like it was really difficult.
Yeah, long time ago. So
Yeah,
those games are very different to what the modern
as they
games
used
are
to
now,
be. All right, okay.
and it's a beautiful story about this man in his past who's done these horrible things. Like his name's Kratos, and he's the son of Zeus, and he essentially kills the Greek pantheon for betraying him and making him kill his own family. And he kills innocent people, he slaughters lands, take, pillages everything, kills it.
Yeah.
And then it's now these modern day games is set in Norse mythology, and it's about this
Oh,
man trying to be like, I need to do anything I can in my power to make sure my son doesn't turn out to be what I did, and like tries to like hide the fact that his son's a god, so he doesn't have this complex about being a god. And beautiful story, and it's a theme about just to be better. So we need to be better. That's it. It's like, and the second game is Kratos has a chat with Thor, and Thor is like they're fighting, and Thor's like, "Do you know what I've done, mate?" And he's like, "I don't care what you've done. What I care now is what you're going to do. How you're going to change." I love that.
Quite
I love
inspiring.
stories like that, because it's all about taking accountability of those actions and being like, actually, people change throughout any amount of time, and it's all about the progression and what you do in the future. I've got two nephews now, and I hope by the stuff I've learned by now that from what I was, the way the environment I was kind of brought up in this kind of strict, I won't call it overtly strict, but it was a really hard Sikh Punjabi background about got to do this, you need to stick to this, you have to do that. That
Yeah.
restraintment would eventually lead to an outburst of like, I'm gonna do this. No, no, fuck
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. With them, I'm very much gonna like hopefully try and approach it to be like, you guys do what you want and I'll support you regardless. Just make sure you're happy and you're okay and you don't hurt other people and people don't hurt you
Yeah.
and see how it goes. And like I love stories like that. And I think that's why I mentioned Good Will Hunting to you,
Yeah.
because that for me was the first exposure to a story like that, especially about young men. I
Right.
was like, yeah, especially with Robin Williams' character. Because you got Will, who he's from this very rugged, low down area, but he's happy, he's chill, and he's got his pals, and he goes and works and all that. As this young man seems to be put in a situation in society that he's like, you're not going to achieve anything, mate. You're just going to be this blue collar guy, boom. And he's like content with that. But he's got this beautiful ability, which is his mind, that he can just, for some reason, solve it. Solve it like that. Like he says in the film, it's like breathing to him. It's like you just don't think about it. It just is.
Yeah.
And then, but he's obviously went through a very difficult household and an abusive relationship with his parental figures. And then comes this guy, he just steps in and doesn't father him, but it becomes an older reflection of what he can be
Yeah.
and what he should be. And it's like you do have this gift, but you also got something else. You got people around you. They care about you and they love you and they want to see you achieve. And you want to connect. That's the main thing. You want to connect with someone. Because Will doesn't necessarily connect with people apart from his boys. Because you see him with his relationship with Skylar. Since she's got close, he's like, bye. Do you know? And he tries to do it with Mark. Yes, his character is called Mark. It is Mark, isn't it? Yeah, Mark.
Who's character?
Robin Williams' character is
No,
Mark.
Sean.
Sean. That was it. Sean. Who the fuck's Mark? Sean. Yeah, it was Sean. Because at the start, like that beautiful monologue when like he tries to Will breaks down and mocks the painting of Sean's wife.
Yeah.
And then Sean the next time, any normal person would like, screw this kid, get him out of here, don't want to see him. But then you got a park scene and he sits down, he says, I know you, mate. And he goes in this, oh God, he's like, you don't know what love is. Yeah, you may have got laid a few times, but you don't know what it's like to. It's stunning.
Yeah.
It's stunning because for the first time in your life, and me being a young man watching it as well, the first time in my life, I was actually like, instead of getting shouted at by someone, or someone tell me off and be like, you're an idiot, you this and that, a grown up has treated someone as another grown up and as a lesson to be like, you don't know these things, mate. And it's okay that you don't know these things, but you don't know these things. So don't act as if you know everything because you think you're so smart.
Yeah,
Right?
it's like you see
Love
that a
that.
lot in school, don't you? Like when you're in high school,
Yeah.
especially. And I don't know, maybe it's more of a guy thing. I don't know, but say you're a troublemaker, right? And I was always a very middle of the road pupil, right? I was never a troublemaker. I was never a goody two shoes. I was never great at everything. I wasn't bad at everything. I was very middle of the road, just kind of cruise through, right? So I was always kind of in the middle of all this stuff. I tried to make friends with everybody, and I kind of saw everything happen. And there was people who connected well with certain teachers, and those were the teachers that really sat down and was like, I'm not going to shout at you. Why should I shout at you? What's that going to achieve? And I still believe that now. Like, why would teachers
They're the
shout at people?
best.
You know what I mean? Talk to me, get to know me. And those troublemakers or the troubled kids that have issues and maybe struggle with certain subjects, they would always connect well when you actually treated them like humans and you treated them like, talk to me, tell me what your problems are, here's how I can help. that
Yeah.
makes such a big difference, you know?
It's so interesting to see that and to hear about that because I guess during the time we were in high school and stuff, we didn't really have exposure to what purely mental health was
Right.
and how that affects learning for kids. Like we had this girl who was just for whatever reason troublemaker, this and that, dog, and the typical stuff you'd hear. But dude, she was so smart at maths.
Right.
She was so good at maths. And I was like, if you just had if she had someone like I had people that helped me in my drama just to help her to get into maths, she just got it. And like, and people would be like, how did she get that? And I
Yeah.
didn't. She's pure, but she just did. And you're just like, God, man, what a you see through cracks, And this film does it so well. With like and like just seeing character, and it's the first time for me seeing Robin Williams in that role.
Yeah.
Someone so gentle
Yeah,
and
and
calm.
giving, and I've got time for you, and yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And
What I thought was really interesting to see when he was at, and I don't know if it was Ron Williams or maybe it was Skylar. It was Skylar. She asks him, like, how do you do it? How do you have such a brilliant brain? And he's
yeah,
like, I can't explain it, but it's like if someone could play the piano, right?
yeah,
The piano, all the keys, they don't have letters on them, they're not color coded. You just look at the keys and you just know what to press.
yeah.
Don't know why, I just know.
Is it
It's
brilliant? You
like
see,
that.
yeah,
It's like I don't know how I do all these equations and these sums. I just do it.
yeah,
And it's a really interesting way to look at it because we've all got that. We've all got that talent. We've all
yeah,
like it's like learning those lines we're talking about. You know what I
yeah.
mean? I don't sit there and go, and then the seventh word in that paragraph is this. You just learn it, you rehearse it, and you just do it. And that's
Exactly.
just what it's like the type of person that you are,
Yeah, and like even the making of this film with like Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, like they were very much early in their careers.
Absolutely.
I was
Ben
watching
Affleck
him.
looks totally unrecognizable as well. He looks so different at such a
Yeah,
young age, doesn't he?
yeah, like uh, yeah. It's just like because like when you see them now, you understand, you get it now because they are titans. I would say, especially with Ben Affleck, with the way his career went to
Yeah.
become an Oscar-winning director. It's like when I watched him at Daredevil, yeah, I didn't expect that.
Right.
I didn't expect that, but he just did it. But you
Yeah,
kind
no,
of
no.
think, oh, why did we underestimate that? Because when he was at such a young age, he wrote Good Will Hunting with Matt Damon. Matt Damon intended it to be a play, and he
Yeah.
showed it to his lecturer, and his lecturer was like, "Keep going with that." And him and Ben were working together, living together at that point. They had a shared bank account, and they were like, "Let's just write it, let's just write." It. And they wrote it, and they managed to get this faith put into them, and then they made this film, and they won their Oscars for it, and that propelled their careers to what they are now. And like Matt was doing a lot better in the sense of acting wise, while Ben was getting these bit parts. And then
Yeah.
the I think what was the big break for him? He said he said in the video was Chasing Amy by Kevin Smith. I'm a
Mm.
big Kevin Smith fan. I massively adore that man.
Yeah.
Um, and he was saying, yeah, that was his first leading role, which was really surprising to me because I always grew up with him being like, oh, this guy is a leading man at
Yeah.
many things. But to watch these guys to write such a mature
Crazy though, right?
piece, you know, and especially something like so out there and bizarre, like about this guy with hyper intelligence that can get away with anything with his using his brain and his mind, and also as well, like the scene where he's like, you got he's this guy, but you got the scene of them driving the car, looking out, going, is that whoever the guy's name is? It's like, is that yeah, stop the car for a moment, going out, and just socks him.
Yeah.
And this is fight, and you go, that's it, that's the duality of this man. You either got this genius or you got this absolute Neanderthal just barring in
That's it.
people.
And you're sitting watching it, you're going, come on, just get a grip. You know what I mean? You're
Yeah,
watching him and you feel so bad for him because you want to like him. You know what I
yeah,
mean? You want him to do well, but he's just giving you so many reasons
yeah.
to kind of not like him, but you still do. You know
Just
what I mean?
deflects and deflects and deflects, and
Yeah.
that's what he does. And that's when Sean finally gets introduced to be like this guy who's relatively probably got the same experiences as him, not the same intelligence, but experiences as him.
Yeah.
Like this is the first time in the film he's ever like, have I met a match here in the sense of
Yeah.
like my wittiness, and it's so interesting to see Will's character grow from that. And like, because the arc at the end when he's just like about the job, he's like, I gotta go see about a girl. Uh, it's
Yeah.
so beautiful
What
because
a great line.
how good is that? They talk about the line at the end, like son of a bitch stole my line. They did like 50, 60 takes of Robin doing something different every time, and they got that, and they're like, that
Yeah.
was it. Because again, that's again the genius of Robin Williams. It's just like just keep rolling and just do it, just do it, and do something so quick in his processing to
Yeah.
do something different all that time to something probably so minuscule to so extreme. I really admire that as an actor.
Yeah.
Um, and like the scene as well. I think I'm a bit of a romantic. I'm not gonna lie. I think the older I get,
I'm sure you are.
I
I'm sure
became a
you
bit of
are,
a
Jay.
so yeah, like I grew up on Bollywood, bro. So do
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So, but it was the scene where Sean's talking to Will about when he met about the baseball game.
Mm.
Um, about his like, oh yeah, I remember watching that game, and Will's getting pure excited, and he's just like, God, did you win? It was like, yeah, and they're pure talking about the details, like, oh, that must be cool, and this must be cool, and so on and so forth. It's like, oh God, man, they're like, how was it like being there? And he's like, oh, I wasn't there, mate. He's like, but you just told me you had a ticket for it and you went and you watched it. Went, no. I gave the ticket to one of my pals. And I stayed in the pub to talk to this girl. I had to go see about a girl. And you just go, and you just see Will. It clicks for Will. And that,
Yeah.
because it clicked for me to go, oh man, it's those moments in life you need to really take
Yeah.
and not be afraid about, you know,
And embrace.
and embrace it. Like, yeah, I can go enjoy a baseball game where my team can win, or I could take the courage to step up to this person and then potentially connect with this human being. And as well as arc about connecting with people, really connecting with someone, and not through like churlish ways of like beating up guys and getting drunk in the pub with his mates and that, who also adore him and he adores them, obviously.
Yeah.
But to then eventually just to be like, no, I found this girl and I want to connect with her and I want to be with her.
Yeah.
And with this gift, with this intelligence that I have, I can easily throw that away and work for a big company, or I can just drive 600 miles across America and be
Go
with her.
California. It's actually a
Yeah.
heartbreaking scene, isn't it, when she's at the airport and she's looking for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's actually really sad, and you can
Yeah.
see it. She actually does a really good job, actually, about
Yeah.
being. It's good sad acting. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, I was thinking as well. Is there another actor in the world that has played so many like kind of wholesome, fatherly, teacherly like characters than Robin Williams? Right now, I can only name a couple off the top of my head, right? But
Yeah.
there's something about him that is so wholesome. I don't know, about his personal
Yeah.
life, type of guy he was, stuff like that. All I know, he was just this brilliant performer
Hmm.
that could go from, maybe it is because he's such a joker.
Yeah.
And the famous stories of him improvising
Yeah.
and coming up with these funny lines and carrying on and making
Hmm.
everybody laugh. And then when he does get really serious and really deep, you go, oh man, like you see someone that you know in him, or
Yeah.
you can relate to him in some way. Well, the two I always think of is Good Will Hunting and Dead Poets Society. Have you seen Dead Poets?
Oh, so good. Yeah.
Oh mate,
What
Mr.
a
Keating,
what
unbelievable.
what God what God what a film of that as well. And you know what? Like, full on congratulations to the casting team to be like, yeah, let's put Robin in these roles. Because
Yeah,
have you watched Awakenings as well?
no, I've seen that one.
Right. So if I tell you the plot, it'd be like you got this doctor and this person who's got I forgot what it's called, but it's not Lou Gehrig's disease because it can be reversed. But it's basically the Awakenings is about these patients who are locked in the body from this mysterious disease. It's based on a true story, and this doctor finds a cure for it. But it's kind of like a Flowers for Algernon type of thing, where they get this ability to walk and speak in that again, but then the medicine affects their mental health
Yeah,
and makes them go a bit um, delusional, and the mental health deteriorates quite a bit. So they have to slowly take them off the medicine until they're locked again. And if I tell you what uh what character Robin would be playing that, you think it would be like the patient who's gonna like as soon as they're back again, they're full of this and that. He plays the doctor, who
brilliant.
is this very soft spoken, introverted, quiet man. And watching him do that, you're like, this isn't the Robin Williams. This isn't, and he's so good at it because his scene partner is Robert De Niro,
Wow.
and both of them on screen is something you'd never expect.
What's it
But it
called?
works so incredibly well, mate. It's brilliant. Awakenings is a brilliant film.
The
Great film.
Awakenings or just Awakenings?
I think it's The Awakenings. I'll find out. It's great.
I'll definitely check that out. Awakenings. What was I going to say as well? There's something about the way Robin Williams is like chatting to him, and as we're kind of saying earlier on about like finding that way to talk to a certain person, it's like knowing your audience.
Yeah.
Like this is how I'm going to speak to Will, because this is how it's going to connect with him. It's like finding a way to relate to him. He kind of like asks him loads of questions like, do you play any instruments? Do you like music? Do you watch films? Do you read books and stuff? And he finds that little thing that connects. I think that's important in terms of just like society and being people and finding like that's how you make friends, isn't it? And that's how like you're able to be at a party with a bunch of strangers and still make conversation. It's like being able to find something, having that quality in you to try and find something that you can talk to someone about. It's like doing this podcast. There'll be people who I've never met before in my life who come on as guests. And obviously we're chatting about like the film and stuff. We've got that in common. And I've obviously introduced myself and told them what the podcast is going to be about. But I still need to kind of find that way to kind of keep the conversation going.
Yeah,
it's much
course.
easier to do this with someone that I know or that I've been with, for years or whatever. So yeah, and I went through a wee kind of phase where I was like trying to watch everything. I was trying to watch all these, like every TV show, every film, listen to every album, because I want to find something like that I can relate to everyone about. I just found it really interesting that he was really keen to find that one connection between him and Will's character or Matt Damon's character, and it's something about those two on screen together. It's like you feel comfortable watching them together.
You do,
and knowing that like some of the script was really kind of free as well. Like say what you want, react how you want, and stuff. And Robin Williams, obviously, the king of that.
Yeah, you feel very safe in Sean's company. It's interesting you mentioned the looseness of the script because they talk about the scene where they're connecting. He's talking about his wife farting in bed,
and they just
that was
laugh
just Robin
so naturally.
Williams. Yeah, that's just Robin Williams. But you could tell as well, see it closely, the camera's shaking because the cameraman behind is laughing.
He's laughing, yeah.
And they went, "Oh, we just keep it."
It's because Matt Damon, like, because it's such a close up in his face, and he's like absolutely killing himself laughing.
He's killing himself. He's like, "What are you talking about?
Yeah,
what are you saying?"
Like, all the stuff you could have said. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's brilliant though because you sit there too. You just laugh at Robin Williams anyway, but you're laughing more because of the way Matt Damon's reacting.
Yeah,
you can't help to smile. And it's so amazing because I think it's the first time in the film you see Will's guard completely down.
Good call.
And he's just like laughing away and enjoying himself,
Yeah.
And all those big moments are with Sean because at that ending to this day, when he's like, it's iconic. It is iconic when he's like. It comes to it. Sean has this master plan. He knows what he's doing, and you see it to fruition at the end when he's like, "It's not your fault."
Yeah.
No, I cried, mate. I get emotional thinking about it because imagine we all had someone coming up to you throughout your life and all the anxieties and depression and the weight that you had. Someone just to come up to you and just be like, for Sean's case, it's not your fault. Or for anyone else's case, it's like you're okay, you're fine. It is beautiful, mate.
Give
to have someone
hug.
like that.
Yeah,
exactly, and to hold them as well. Like God, man, like it hits you. And I remember being a young guy watching that and going, "Oh, like oh God, like do you know?"
Absolutely.
I started therapy this year. I was very much like wanted to get into it. A few stuff happened within my life, my family, last year or so. That it was. I'm so lucky to have a friend group that I can speak to people,
right,
and open up and like have. I've known these boys for 15 plus years now, but to have someone to sit down and speak to them to be like, what's going on? What's actually the root? Why do I feel like my heart's beating every time I leave the house, or when my mum goes down this road and she's driving the car and I feel like something's going to happen to her?
Yeah.
Why do I feel this? And it's to have someone to sit down and listen to you and break it down. Because I had a good moment with him. Like it's something. I think it was the third session in, and he said something. He said something in the line of something to be like, you're allowed to be hurt. you're allowed to feel hurt, something like that. And I
Yeah.
was like, what? What? It's like you're allowed to feel what you're feeling.
Yeah.
I just remember going, no, don't you do this now to me. I just remember breaking down in front of him, and I was like, what's going on?
Well, it's
Like,
probably good though. You felt comfortable though.
oh
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
absolutely. Because at first when I got because I would advocate this for any actor. If you're part of Equity, they have got uh, an arrangement with Bampam London, who
Mm.
are all credited therapists. You can get 6 free sessions with
Wow.
them through Equity, and they will have a consultation with you, and they will assign you someone to what your needs are. And I was like, my biggest thing is like my culture, my background, growing up in Scotland, some of the stuff we had to face growing up in Scotland due to that, and my anxieties when it comes to performance and so on. So, and to deal with like all that. So I was pure expecting, because in my head, I was like, a pure South Asian person to speak to that I could relate
Right.
to, and this and that. And then I got this person that's completely opposite of me. And I was like, oh, God, what's going to happen here?
Yeah.
And then the first session, then I was like, you're really nice. Why you being nice? This is weird. This is a thing. Like my back was immediately like, what are you doing? And then the second, I was just like, oh, you're just a really nice dude. And you really, because like, yeah, actually, you know what? It was the screen, and in the background was like instruments on the wall and his DVD collection, and like I was like, oh, this guy's actually probably pretty cool.
And you could relate. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
And he was just very calm, and like every time I'd be like, oh, sorry about that. I was like, don't need to be sorry, mate. It's good.
Yeah.
And I was like, very safe, you know? And like, because then I did that after my sessions, I did that and then watched the film again. Now it's like, oh God, like, life imitating
Having a
art.
moment here. I love that though. Like when
Yeah,
when Will has to, he's kind of forced to go to these therapy sessions, and he
yeah,
doesn't want to go. I think a
yeah,
big, as you're saying, I think a big part of therapy and embracing it is that you have to want to do it. You have to commit to it. You know what I mean? You have
mm,
to feel like, okay, I'm going to get help here. You know,
yeah,
he doesn't want to
exactly.
do it at first, and
Yeah,
then he throws away all these other teachers, and when he finds Sean, at first he's like, no, I'm
yeah,
not doing it, and then he's dying to get back. You know what I mean? He's like, what do you mean time's up? What do you mean that's
yeah,
the whole program over? You know, I
yeah,
was really emotional at that moment because it's like he's kind of felt that connection and now he doesn't want to leave. You know?
yeah. God, it's nice, man. And like I say, for any person that is really struggling and needs someone to talk to and like find it hard to approach a therapist and that, I say retreat into your art again. I would say watch Good Will Hunting and see
Yeah.
how it's helped this person, and then listen to people who's actually went to therapy themselves and see how it's helped them. It's helped me greatly. So it's helped me realize and go, I now know why I have anxiety attachment issues.
Right.
I know now why I always put my expectations of myself way far and beyond that can be sometimes unreachable at times. Like, so it makes you take a breath and a sit back and reflect and actually go,
Yeah.
like, you're fine.
Deep breath. Yeah,
Don't worry about
absolutely.
it. You're fine.
Yeah. Good message. Absolutely good
Yeah.
message to have this from Gibbs off. This is the Good Bit podcast. So tell me, what is the best bit of this film, or what's your favourite bit of Good Will Hunting? What's the good bit?
The good bit of it. So many.
I know it's so hard. Give me a few.
Um,
Probably mentioned a few anyway.
um, yeah. Um,
I think my favorite bit is either the kind of natural conversation that they have, but there's so many like moments where Robin Williams is just kind of explaining stuff to him, asking questions, and it goes on these kind of
yeah,
monologues that are really nice. But yeah, just like the ending, like the last scene of those two together,
yeah,
when he leaves and he goes, "Good luck, son," which
mhm,
is really emotional.
yeah,
And he actually doesn't go to the school; he goes to
yeah.
see about a girl, which I think is beautiful.
I think to add to that as well, I think it's the scene between Ben and Matt, and they're working the construction site.
And the Rickyard, yeah,
Yeah, and he's like, "If you don't take that fucking job, I'm gonna kill you. You know that?" And he's like, "What?" It's like, "But we're working
we're working
together."
together,
Well,
yeah,
he was like, "Mate, I'm going to be here for the next 40 years of my life, and I'm good with that. I
yeah,
can. But you've got something that any guy here would die for. You need to take that, not just for you. you're taking that for all of us. He's
Yeah.
talking about if I drive the next day, because he goes, every day I dream about driving to that house and knocking on the door and you don't open
And you'll know there.
and you know there. And the scene when he does it, knocks, takes a cigarette, and he's like, it's not there. And you just see his face going,
Yeah.
that's a good bit. That's
And isn't it funny how like the world's changed, because that just wouldn't happen now, because you would just text somebody or you
yeah,
would phone them or you
yeah.
would check their Insta. Like when did the last post that story?
Mm.
Whereas then it was literally like, I mean, it was like us when we were growing up as well.
Yeah.
You didn't know if your pal was free or not unless you went to their house,
And yeah, chat on the
knocked on their
door.
door. And you would just phone someone even and just you would be on the phone for an hour. You don't know if that person was going out later or was in the bath or was having dinner or whatever. You just phoned them and you chatted. Whereas now it was like, oh, are you free between this hour and stuff?
Of
The
course.
world is so different. So it's actually so interesting watching that and being like, what would you do in that situation when you go over and your pal's not there? And that's actually what you wanted.
Yeah.
You know, it's a nice kind of thing to think about.
It is, yeah. And especially like what a good pal as well.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you don't want to let people go.
Honest.
But
you know,
at that moment, he's like, nah, don't you dare waste that opportunity. Don't you dare think you have to stay here for us. We love you, but we don't need you to be here. We
Yeah.
need you to go out and be who you need to be or who you want to be.
Yeah.
And like, it's like, it's kind of like a permission thing that I guess Will was kind of needing. Like, right, no, you're right, mate. Yeah, you're right. I think it's a great film. It's just a very down to earth, touching story.
It is. It is. I'm just doing a quick Google search here. I'm looking at the awards this film won.
Yeah.
So Robin Williams won Best Supporting Actor in 1998. That was the only Oscar that it won. It was also nominated though for Matt Damon being Best Actor in a Leading Role.
Right.
Minnie Driver for Skylar as Best Actress in a Supporting Role, and Gus Van Sant was nominated for Best Director. However, Best Picture it was nominated for in 1998. Any guesses as to what won Best Picture that year?
1998.
So the film that won it came out in 1997 along with Good Will Hunting, but obviously the ceremony took place in 98.
Right, okay, 1997. Right. Best Picture. To me, is that going to be a packed year? Is that a good year?
Okay, I'll give you the other nominees, right? So
right, give me the nominees.
As Good as It Gets, The
Jack
Full
Nicholson.
Monty, Jack Nicholson, yeah. Full Monty, Good Will Hunting, and LA Confidential. And then the one that won it.
Oh God.
I'm telling you though, it's one of the biggest films of all time, and I'm telling you, if this film wasn't nominated that year,
it would be nominated.
Good Will Hunting would have won, yeah. But there was no way that anything was beating this film that year. And I'm not saying the one that won, I actually prefer Good Will Hunting. But in terms of the world, this one's known as a bigger film.
Right. I love this. Let's play this game. I'm going to try to look at my DVD collection right now. 1997.
Biggest film in 97.
Titanic?
Yes, well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, Titanic. Yeah.
I thought that came out in 96. Was it 97 it came out?
97, yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Great film. Absolutely great film.
Yeah.
But I would have picked Good Will Hunting as the winner, but it was nothing was beating Titanic.
LA Confidential as well that year. That's a great film as well.
Yeah, and what else do we have here? For Best Director, it's all the same, apart from The Sweet Hereafter. Never heard of that one. And then other nominees for Best Actor, Matt Damon, as we said, for Good Will Hunting, Robert Duvall in The Apostle, Peter Fonda in Yuli's Gold, and Dustin Hoffman in Wag the Dog.
Best supporting.
And that's Best Leading.
Best Leading?
Yeah.
Who won?
Jack Nicholson, As Good as It Gets.
Oh, cool. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. That's I thought it's kind of odd. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to pick a year and then watch all the Best Picture nominees and Best Director nominees from that year.
That's a great idea.
And go through year by year. Okay, this week is 96. And you know what I mean?
Did you ever do we did it for a couple of years, but eventually stopped because eventually all the lads stopped talking to each other. But we had a group chat about guessing who's going to win, who the best winners are.
The Oscar stuff, we
yeah.
didn't do a group chat, but we did a few watch parties and stuff like that. We did bets. Yeah.
So we all put in a bet to be we had to get everything right, and I believe I got 2019 every single one of them right.
Oh, I think I did really well in 19. Like everyone I wanted to win, I think in
Yeah.
19 won.
No, I'm talking shit. When did Argo come out?
Argo was like 2012 or something.
No, yeah, it must have been when I was in high school, mate. But I remember I got them all right, and it was the only fucking year that no one dished out the money.
But there you go. There you go. Good Will Hunting, amazing film.
Yeah,
Always recommended to go and rewatch it because there's lots of different stuff to it. It's not just a great film, but like there's a good message to it. Great
yeah,
performances. Soundtrack by Danny Elfman's awesome. I
yeah.
noticed that more this day. This is my second time watching it.
Mhm.
Noticed that when and it's funny when you rewatch something for a second or third time, you pick up on those things. It's like
Yeah,
nine
yeah.
times out of ten, the first watch, you don't go, the soundtrack was really good. But when
Yes,
you watch
yeah,
it, two or three times later, you go,
yeah,
they put a lot of thought into this music, you know what I mean? Which is again another thing that just adds to the greatness of the film.
yeah.
And yeah, thanks for coming on. Lovely,
All right,
lovely to
Tim.
see you. Lovely.
Thanks for
And
having me.
any other time you want to come on chat about another
Yeah,
film, you're more than welcome.
yeah,
More than
mate.
welcome
Man,
to
I'll
come on.
get you watching some Bollywood, mate.
Yeah, yeah, let's do it.
I was going to do it the first time, but I was like, I'll ease Chris in. I'll ease him in.
Where
Sweet,
can
thanks.
where can the listeners find you on social media? Are you big on Twitter and the Instagram or TikTok?
Yeah, I'm on. Let's find out. What's my names?
I should have that
Um,
prepared.
Insta, I believe I'm Jai_S_R96 because my name's just long, bro. It's just long. I'm currently right now in a dilemma because I do want Jatinder Singh Randhawa. It's just my Insta name. But there's a guy
Yeah,
in India with a deactivated account, or he hasn't signed into his bloody account, that's got the name. And I've
nightmare.
done everything I can to the guy's account is not active. It
Yeah,
is
give me the
not
name.
active. Give me
Yeah,
the name. I want the name, please, for the love. I was just like, he's got 0 followers and he's following 90 people. Not even a profile picture. No
nightmare.
posts. Nothing. I was like, look at it. Look at it. Give me it. Raging. And my Twitter is Jai_S Randhawa. People can figure that out how to spell
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
I'll put the link in the wee description
Yeah,
of
of
that so
course,
people can
man.
follow. But
Yeah.
thank you very much, everybody, for
No.
listening, and Jay for coming on, speaking to us. We'll catch you all next time on the Good Bit Podcast. Take care of yourselves, everybody, and we'll catch you all down the road.
Citizens